Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome everyone. And today I'm going to be reviewing some Parmesan cheese, Mainland Parmesan cheese with the slogan, "Good things take time," on its wrapping, which is always helpful as I'm often looking for advice from my cheese, as that's just the sort of cool person I am. Right, starting off first impressions, as I open it up, it seems to be very easy to open it up. The hair elastic is easy to pull off, and from there it can be easily unwrapped with just one curl. Now, as you can see, it can then be easily slid up, which is good as I always want easy access to my cheese, and this is especially good when contrasted with other brands of cheese. For example, this cheese here is in a container that requires pulling from two sides to open. When we try to push up the cheese, as you can see here, there's a lot of friction, it just won't go. So I think it's clear from the packaging, at least so far, that the Mainland Parmesan cheese is a much superior experience in opening to the Ornell Parmesan cheese. So this is good impressions right off the bat, which is crucial for any product. Now, another thing that does strike me in the packaging, which is not so good, is how, if you can see up here, it says sharp with bite. Now, this does not seem to me like a good thing. For one thing, sharp in its own is a bad thing. It seems like there are right angles which I could easily cut myself on once this is unwrapped. But it seems almost vindictive that even if I do manage to avoid being stabbed lightly by the cheese, it will still try and bite me. So I guess that's one point to the Ornell. Alright, now if we turn it around and look at the label, we can see first off that they have provided us with a large number of lines and numbers. If I turn it this way, you can see closer. Look at all those lines and numbers. Maybe it's some kind of code, I'm not sure. But I think it's nice they provide us with so many, though I would like a bit more colour variety. Now if we look closer, now you can't easily tell this, but I can see that most of the writing seems to be written in the universal language known as English, but some of it is also written in an interesting code. What does it say? Para Caribe y Centroamérica represento por... Interesting. Makes me wonder if the little interesting lines and numbers would help us decode. Now, I am limited by my camera, but it does say here, for Caribbean and Central American rep. Now, this is interesting. First of all, the first question is, what does REP stand for? Repatriate, reparations, maybe repertoire. There are many possibilities. Hopefully they'll be revealed in other parts of this label. But then if I go down here, it does say quite clearly, product of New Zealand. Now, this is quite interesting. Is it from the New Zealand or Central America? If I continue to read, it says that it needs to be kept refrigerated between 2 and 4 degrees over here. Now, if I get out my protractor, clearly 2 to 4 degrees, that's a very small angle. However, fortunately, my fridge is at a comfortable 3 degrees, which is perfect, right in the middle of what's needed. And my freezer is also negative 18 degrees, if that is needed, which I think is interesting, as here it seems that both the fridge and the freezer are at right angles. So that's an interesting optical illusion there for you geeks. Now, going back to the label, we can see that it says ingredients, and that's a very helpful list in case you want to check that what you're eating is in fact Parmesan cheese and not some other product such as blue cheese. The ingredients list says milk, salt, and cultures. Now this could provide us a clue to the previous puzzle. Perhaps they are Latin American cultures they're referring to, maybe some Colombian, some Costa Rican culture involved in this cheese, which is very nice. I love me some diversity. Also, I think this gives us a clue as to what rep means. Representative. This seems to be the obvious option. So it says for Caribbean and Central American representative. Now, I guess that means that perhaps if you have an embassy nearby, perhaps of Panama, this would be a great gift to give them. And I think that's actually really considerate of Mainland cheese to put that on the label. Right, now it's time to actually eat the cheese, and this is a really exciting part, I find. Now, I'm going to cut into the cheese carefully, and you want to make sure that your fingers are right next to the blade so that it doesn't slip, as close as possible like this, ideally. Alright, now I have this nice piece. Now I'm going to eat it. Alright, the first piece. Now, although I was anticipating being stabbed, or bitten, it seems that neither of these things have happened. Perhaps the problem is that I am not Central American. I could perhaps ask my Colombian friend to review this, and maybe she would give a different take, but right now, I think it's pretty good, and once again practicing safe, nice skills. It's important to have your fingers clasped over the sharp end of the blade to avoid stabbing anyone who might accidentally be there. So this is the safest way to carry a knife. So I'm going to now chop another part. It's also a safe idea to chop the cheese in the air, as you wouldn't want the knife to accidentally cut your chopping board, so it's better to have it a bit away at a safe distance from the chopping board. However, as you can see as I cut, there seems to be a lot of cheese going everywhere and very little of it going into my mouth. This cheese is delicious. However, I don't know, so it's very crumbly as I do it. So number one problem with crumbliness, oh, there's another bit just fell off. The first problem with crumbliness is that it isn't good as an emergency building material. So if you were thinking on building a cheese house, this is not probably the cheese I would recommend. Maybe something sturdy would be better. Also, given the amount of cheese falling off, it seems that this is not very efficient, that the amount of cheese you get per cheese is not as good as I would like. The idea is, of course, a 1-to-1 ratio of cheese to cheese, but this seems to be more like a 1 to 0.9 ratio, which is not nearly as good. Although I'm a bit disappointed with the misinformation on the packet, other than that, I think this is probably a pretty standard cheese, quite good, so I would recommend it.